Am I calling this meeting? Am I calling this meeting of the board? Okay. I would like to call this meeting
I
of
think so.
Jefferson Transit Authority Board to order. And as we always do, we'll start with a public comment period. There's a number of our board members who are not with us right now, but we do have a quorum. 7 members on our board. It takes 4 to be a quorum, so we have a full quorum plus extra. So I will open a first public comment period. I don't even know if do we have members of the public? Nope. We have 0 members of the public. So unless anyone feels like putting on their public hat, I will close this public comment period of our first public comment period. And oh, there was a written public comment. Do we want to go over that?
It was provided in the packets.
There was, it came from Tom Tiersch, who, is it best if I just read it and then I can provide a comment?
Sure,
Shall I
sure,
read it? Okay.
that sounds great.
So the public comment reads, what JTA should have done instead of the CO2 spewing overpriced trolley. Maybe it's not too late to get rid of that white elephant while it still has some resale value. Then there is a link to a Seattle Times news article. And in that article, it was talking about an Uber type service. On to say JTA number 11 averaged 4,717 rides per month in 2023, which equals 181 rides per day. At 26 days in service per month, 15 equal rides per hour at 12 hours in service per day, i.e. an empty bus. The Port Townsend service area covers about 4 square miles, approximately 2 miles end to end. 2 or 3 circuit vehicles should be able to easily handle the demand. Why not ask that company for a proposal? A 21-page slide deck is available here, and it will ask you for an email address. I did not click on that link. We just have to be very careful with what links we click on. So that was his public comment. I will say, my response is really Jefferson Transit budgeted for and has an RFP out for a consultant to help us with a comprehensive operational analysis. I think that operational analysis is going to point us in some different directions and may give us some data that we need in order to make any changes to Jefferson Transit. And I'm thinking about, does that mean adding frequency? Does that mean changing the type of vehicles that we're purchasing or we're running through the downtown area? Does that look like expanding service times, shortening service times, so on and so forth? So I think I think Jefferson Transit is on the right track to addressing some of these issues that he's bringing up. I do think that Jefferson Transit needs to keep its trolley. I don't necessarily agree that it's a white elephant. I actually like the trolley, and I think it adds something to the downtown area. We get lots of positive feedback about the trolley, but that would be my response to Tom's public comment.
And Nicole, if I may, I'll just add that, when we were at the transit conference last year, a lot of us spent much of our time talking to people about microtransit options. So it's something that we're all interested in. And for some of our more rural routes, or areas where people have asked for service that a full bus doesn't make sense. We've talked about Maristone and other kind of outlying areas. So, we're on it, we're thinking about it, and it takes time to make these things happen. So we agree with some of what Tom said, and yes, I too still like the trolley. So okay, with that, I will close public comment and move us along to reorganization of the board. So as we do at the beginning, at the first transit meeting of each year, we appoint new leadership on the board. We do a little shuffle. And historically, in my brief 3 years with transit, we have alternated between the city and the county. So in 2022, Mayor Faber was chair of the board and I was vice chair. And then I stepped up to being chair. And then in 2023, as I was chair, Ben Thomas was vice chair. So it would be my proposal that Ben steps into the chair role. And one of my seatmates, neither of who is with us right now, is appointed as vice chair. Or because we now have a broader transit board, we could propose having John or Vivian move into the vice chair role and change our normal operating procedure, which I would love. I love shaking things up. So discussion about this, ideas, thoughts, David?
Yeah, I think it's a fine idea. It's only ever been by so loud. There's a huge amount of noise coming through. Thank you. So it's only our switching back and forth between the city and the county has only been by historical action. It's not like it's part of our rules. So I do think that that we should consider varying that. Though I mean Ben as chair, I think makes a lot of sense as long as he's able to take that on today from Mexico. And then if one of our other folks who are not from the city or county elected boards, like Vivian or John, are willing to take on the vice chair role, I think that'd be great.
John, I'm sorry, I was muting in case that noise was coming from me, but I don't think it was. So John, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think another option to what David's proposing is, basically I'm kind of a city representative and Vivian is kind of a county representative, and we could divide us that way, or like David suggested, we could toss the whole thing out. But that is an option to split us up.
John, would you like to be vice chair?
I wouldn't say I would like to be vice chair. But I'm willing to do that if that's the next step.
Ben, what do you have to add here to this?
Sorry if my mic's a little hot here. Is there background noise right now?
Nope.
Okay. I think it was before. I'm not sure what was going on there. So I remember from last year when we were talking about adding new members that the taxing based, elected members from a taxing base being an important aspect to officers. And does that remain true, or is that just something that got brought up and just discarded? I can't remember.
David?
I think that was one of the concerns raised by the attorney for JTA, that because we deal with general taxing authority and the other boards do not have that level of taxing authority, voting on budgets was a concern. But I think that was dealt with, and it wasn't materially an issue for the board. I don't think it has anything to do with leadership, though.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and I
Okay.
think our school board members are all elected as well. So we're all elected on some level, right? So do I hear a motion to appoint Ben Thomas as chair? Oh, David?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
nominate Ben Thomas as chair of the Jefferson Transit Authority Board.
I'll second that.
I would accept.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of Ben for chair? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, unanimous adoption of that. Fabulous motion. Okay,
Oh dear. Okay. So let me
um,
just say, with
great.
the my distance here and being in, maybe the Wi-Fi is not so great. I don't know. I might either hide my video or possibly need help if I freeze up. So I'm not sure. Maybe when we do the vice chair, that person can step in those roles, just in case that happens. I don't want the meeting to go off the rails in case there's a hiccup here.
And David has
So
his hand
Dave,
up again. Yep.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
go
I
ahead,
was
Dave.
just going to nominate John. I think Ben's making a good point, though. Yeah, I'll nominate John Nowak as vice chair of Jefferson Transit Authority Board.
I'll second that.
So am I running it now? All in favor of John Nowak as vice chair?
Aye.
Say aye.
John, your
It's
hand's
unanimous. Anybody opposed or yeah, John, do you want to do it? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Great. All right. John Nowak is the vice chair for the next 12 months, essentially.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. You were great. Good role model for me.
I'm still here.
Let's see now. Great. I might need you. Zooming back over to our agenda. So we're on to new agenda items, of which there are none listed. Next are financial reports. We got a December 2023 financial report, and who will be giving that? I assume Miranda. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just pulling up my talking notes here. Okay, so in the packet we have December 2023 and January 2024. I'm going to review December 2023 expense reports, but I'm not going to really go over January. It's the first month. There really isn't any discernible data that we can use to figure out where we're at for 2024. But I am happy to answer any questions the board may have about the 2024 January expense report. So the budget tracking figure for December of 2023 is 100%. If we receive an invoice dated for December or before, we do post it in that month or year in which it was incurred, because we're on an accrual basis. So the figures presented in the December financial report, they're not the final figures. It's close, but they're definitely not the final figures. So there may be outstanding invoices, and we do have remaining operating grant funding and sales tax revenues outstanding for the year end. So until we get those, December 2023 will still be open. As soon as we get them, we'll start working on our annual financial report and get those numbers firmed up. So for sales tax revenue, for October and November of 2023, is still trending upward with a cumulative increase of 6% over the same time period in 2022. So for the month of October 2023, sales tax, it remained about the same. It bumped up like 0.11%, so not really a notable increase. And that's compared to October of 2022. And then for November of 23, sales tax actually decreased 1% compared to the prior year. So remaining relatively consistent with the prior year, but we're still 6% over year. Operating revenue. So Jefferson Transit, in December, collected 1,788 and some change in fare revenues from the Kingston Express route. As of January 2024, we do not collect fare on any of our current services, so we're zero fare across the board. Any questions on sales tax and revenue? Okay, looking at our cumulative 2023 expenses. As of December, we were 13% under budget for the year. So I think we did really well managing our expenses last year. Labor was 5% under budget. despite the fact that we had significant labor shortages and that we were over budget in several line items, including operators' salaries and wages, dial-a-ride, operators' overtime for fixed route, dial-a-ride, regular hours and overtime. And then we have other salaries and wages. That includes our maintenance, dispatch, and customer service departments. So there's significant over budget and overtime hours in those line items. We're hoping that trend doesn't continue on into 24. We do have some drivers being trained right now, so we're crossing our fingers for that. Benefits were 14% under. Services and user fees were 38% under. Materials and supplies consumed were 21% under. We did add a new line item in our fuel line. We broke that out, so those two are kind of counteracting, or well, one of them kind of goes in with the other. There was no budget for it in 23, so we added the new line item for our EV electricity expense. That is integrated in the 24 budget. Utilities was 11% under. Casualty and liability costs were 12% under. Taxes were 84% under. Again, that's not because we don't pay our taxes. It's just because we didn't have fares. So miscellaneous 27% under budget. Dues and subscriptions were 38% over budget. And they were projected all year that we might come in line. But I think what happened is when we were budgeting for 23, something got dropped off in the sum. So I was going back and kind of auditing that. And everything was accounted for, but when we had summed up for the budget that year, I must have missed a line item or something. So we did end up coming in over in that object item. And then leases and rentals was 12.9% under budget. And then our capital activity in December was, well, actually, let's see. Oh, I just didn't update my note here, but it was our major vehicle component and replacement repair for some of our vehicles that we're working on bringing back. Third maintenance bay and our IT infrastructure. IT infrastructure is a closed project, so that one finished out in December. And then there was, if you're looking at the report, you'll see a remix subscription payment paid out of capital that was actually reimbursed back into capital. It just came out of the wrong account. It should have been out of operating. So we fixed it. You'll see that go back in January. So that is for my 2023 financial reports. I just did want to take some time and talk a little bit about some changes that I spoke with the finance committee about for the 2024 expenses and how we present them. So for the subscription-based IT arrangements, we implemented the accounting for SPIDA. And this will be, you'll see it reflected on the January 2024 operating expense report. The budget amount for those items have been moved to their own line. So the 2023 year, which is where we're actually applying it for this, we're kind of early implementing, or sorry, that's compensated absences. For 2023, we have to implement SPIDA. So we went back and did some accounting changes in 2023. Those year-end expense reports will be updated to reflect the change for the annual report. It really is just an accounting number. It's just how we account for the liability for that. If any of the board members want me to go into further detail about the change on the expense report, I'd be happy to sit down and go over it with you. Another change that we're having is for compensated absences. So the change in 2024, it'll be a little bit different in how I present compensated absences to the board every month, meaning I won't be. So the changes in the general leave expense reporting every month. So every month when you're looking at labor and if you're looking at the line item, there's a general leave line item. So we used to calculate a change in compensated absence liability every month. And so that expense included both the general leave hours that we have paid and that liability that has been accrued. I don't think it's necessary to do that calculation each month. I don't think it is providing any additional information to the board that's useful for decision making at that point. It really is the information that we typically use for the end of the year financial statements and our annual report. So it provides kind of it's used to calculate what our current and future liabilities are, but in terms of tracking expenses and what Jefferson Transit has actually paid versus what liabilities we've accrued as an expense. I think monthly it doesn't add any additional information except kind of maybe make it look like we've had a lot of people take leave, which is not accurate. So it takes me quite a bit of time to go through and make that generate those figures every month. And I don't find it necessary because if I do it at the end of the year, I get the same figure result that I would get as if I did it every month. So I'm going to try it. If you guys notice a huge change and you're like, no, we want you to go back, I will return, but I don't think you'll notice it. So that is my December and January financial report.
I have a question. So
Well, let's let John go first. He's got his hand up there, his little
sorry.
official way.
It's okay. So Miranda, I think what I hear you saying is you're only going to count the PTO as people are actually using it, not as it's accrued. Is that accurate?
Yes. So as I'm presenting our monthly expenses throughout the year, I will be we'll look at what they've actually taken and what we've paid out versus the liability that the change in liability that gets expensed. Unless the board says, no, that's really valuable information that helps me make decisions. I feel like it's almost a waste of my time and staff time to have to do that every month when we could do it once a year.
So
12 times a year.
That sounds great. Just one question associated with that, and that is, do we require people to cash in PTO when it hits a certain? I guess my only concern about not knowing about that liability is if someone has 400 hours of PTO stored up and they leave the organization and all of a sudden we take a big hit. So, but if there's some limit there, then I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, there is a limit. So we don't allow employees to cash out their general leave balance. We have a rollover cap that we do in our budget, when we do labor, there's we budget for that rollover for how many employees we have. So for admin, it's 280, and I think for represented, is it 520, Nicole? So, and I will say, there's only one or two people that are even close to that 520 rollover cap. So that any excess goes into their VEBA, so we pay it out into their VEBA. So I think we average out every year. So that expense is included in the budget already. So it's not really an unknown liability. It's just, we don't really know how much people are last year, they worked a lot of hours. So the accrual rate was a lot higher. So, we just kind of average it out for the expense.
All right, Heidi.
I was just going to ask Miranda, were you going to go over the capital projects tracking report or?
Did I? Oh,
you did that last.
You're correct, because I was like, oh, we've done that. We haven't done that.
I think Ben and you and I and Nicole went over that, but that was going to be the new exciting thing, right?
It was.
Okay.
It was.
I saw it there. I'm like, maybe I should ask.
Thank you for reminding me. We can have Vivian ask her question, and I'll pull it up
Yeah,
here.
Vivian, go ahead, and sorry for slow.
Thanks, sorry.
Quiet you earlier.
I didn't, took me a while to find the hand.
I know it's not always showing up.
Anyway, my question was just about the benefits. When your benefits are down 13 or 14%, whatever it was, I assume that's because you have fewer people and they're just, right? Is that true?
Yeah, so we budget for a certain amount. We use the rates that are provided. So we budget for a certain number of positions each year, and then based on the number of hours that we estimate that person will work. We also use the rates that we get for our different benefit programs, and so we just estimate each line item for benefits in there. And then of course, when we're short-staffed, we're not paying those. So
Right.
that's where we come in under.
Thanks.
All right, should we go through to the capital
Yes,
projects?
I'm pulling it up right now so I can look at it with you.
I thought you were going to lead into that
I
with
re-
saying that you were going to not do one kind of report because you had this new fantastic way of tracking.
I think I've just got so many different changes this year. I got a little lost in it. And I had talked to the finance committee about it twice. So I think in my mind, I was like, oh, we're moving past that. But we did not have a January board meeting. So let me pull up that packet and then get that.
This new fantastic way of tracking.
I think I've just got so many different changes this year. I got a little lost in it. I had to mute my tab. I was pulling up my agenda. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see what I'm talking about. And hopefully it is not super tiny. Okay, can you see the capital sheet, or are you looking at my my financial program?
No, we're seeing it.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm doing with this report, it's slightly different from the capital report previously. The top is the same, but the bottom, this middle section is actually broken out a little bit differently. We have the different objects for projects. So we have facilities, other buildings and structures, revenue vehicles, service vehicles, capital projects, service equipment, and capital assets. Within those object items, we have line items for projects that were budgeted for capital. These projects could be like larger projects like our maintenance building or our facilities building, or purchase of a vehicle. So how I broke this out is I put the, and this is for last year. So we have the budget for the capital budget for each object. And then we have the type of funding that was committed or expected for that project. So we have grant funding and we have Jefferson Transit funding. And then we have the budget remaining and our year-to-date expenses for each line item. So if we were looking at new shelters, we could come across this line here where we have 100% of that budget has been expended for the year. We budgeted 46,803. I can zoom in just a little bit more here. The Jefferson Transit committed funding, local funding, was 46,803. And then we actually spent the 100%. So year-to-date expenses was 803. And then if you come down to the end of the different projects that actually have grant reimbursement funding, it'll have the amount and then the grant ID once that fund comes in. And this, I think, gives us a little bit better perspective of our capital budget. we're really well at presenting where we're at in terms of year-to-date expenses versus what we budgeted on the operating side. And I kind of wanted to present our capital in the same way. Now, the capital is not, we renew that budget every year, but it's kind of more of a rolling budget because projects sometimes take years, right? So I think it just helps us keep track of where we're at in individual projects as well as the committed project funds for the year. And it also shows, what we have in our capital, how much of those funds are committed, and what would be left over if we were able to expend all these capital expenditures at this moment. So at the end of December, we had about 4 million in committed project funds remaining for the projects, and then our capital reserve balance would be around 7 million if we were able to expend all that. And then it's a little bit different for January. Actually, am I in January? Oh, I have December's on there. I see. I must have attached December onto the end of January there. But yeah, so it just provides more information. You can track it throughout the year, so you can see what was expended in January, February, March. I just thought it would be a better way of presenting our budget tracking for the capital side. Does the board have any questions?
Miranda, do you want to talk about, if you scroll down to the bottom, the balance and what it looks like if we spend all of our capital projects like that?
So let me pull up January. So I'm going to stop screen sharing this one because I think somewhere when the packets got compiled, I ended up with December's capital on January's. So let me pull.
And I'll just say to your last question, Miranda, I love this. I think it's a really great kind of one sheet overview of what's going on with capital. And we've had questions in the past, how much is left, or, this answers all the questions in one place. So I really appreciate this approach.
I second that, Heidi.
Okay, let me screen share again. Okay, so you should see that same sheet with a little bit of yellow on it now. Thumbs up? You can see it? Okay. So if we come down to the bottom here, because these have the updated projects for 2024, we can see our capital balance is at 12.7 million. 6.6 of those are committed project funds. And then we have our reserves that are committed. So if we were to purchase all of these projects today, so all these funds, all the funds that are on this sheet here, those are committed funds, unless the board comes back and says, we don't really want to continue with this project, so we would uncommit funds to a certain project, or if the JTA team came across where it said, this project that we intended isn't really going to work out, or we're moving in a different direction. At this point in time, those funds are committed. So when we really think about what is our capital balance today, we want to be looking at that bottom figure because we've already committed all these other funds. So I kind of want to emphasize when we're talking about our capital accounts, that money is committed. And I know it seems like it's a lot. I just want to convey that we're really trying hard to spend it. We have all these big projects on the horizon this year. and there's a couple of them I'm really excited about. And I will say that it's we're partway through February, so this sheet isn't updated. But we've got a good chunk of service equipment ordered already. I mean, we're making a dent in the 2024 capital budget. Nicole, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I just think that's important because I think at times you can look at that 12.7 million and think that that's what we have, but we really have less than that because we do have projects that we're working on.
Great. How does everybody feel about that? Any comments for Nicole?
I think it looks great. It would be great if we could update the agenda with the January report. I like the new report. It's a tough problem to have. I know other organizations would like to have the same dilemma that we're having. I do every time I see that. I'm like, we're gonna have to start paying people to ride the bus. I don't know, but I appreciate that we're working on coming up with plans.
It looks really straightforward to me. I like it.
I'll make sure that agenda gets switched around because I think they just got flipped. So,
yeah, thank you for pivoting to this and giving a presentation on that when you weren't expecting to.
Thank you, Heidi, for reminding me.
That's good. Yeah.
I was excited about it.
Takes a village.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard it like 3 or 4 times now, so I figured we've covered it all.
Right?
Excellent. So I think we'll move on to the, unless there's any other comments on this. Questions? No. We'll move on to our consent agenda. And I just want to comment that we're welcoming a new TAG member, which is exciting. Somebody that David and I get to see at the city level, Jeff Kostka. So that he should be a great addition there. So anybody want to move to pass the consent agenda?
I so move.
I'll second.
Great. Everybody in favor? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. David's up there with a hand.
Oh, I was just raising my hand
raise.
to move, but Vivian was on top of it. So
Great. Great. So
I'm working on my
yes.
hand.
Yeah, no, it's not intuitive. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Right. Okay, we'll move past that consent agenda and move forward. Unfinished business, there is none. New business discussion or the TAG 2024 representation. And I assume that we'll be looking at Debbie here for this, right?
Well, the reason I wanted to add this as an agenda item is because in the bylaws, the TAG bylaws, it does say that we will have board representation at the TAG meetings, and it talks about a rotation. And so I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about this at the February meeting. I'm not advocating that we have new representation. I just think that to follow our bylaws, we should have a discussion about if we want to keep the same person attending the TAG meetings, if that should be rotated. I think that's just kind of a discussion the board should have.
Unfortunately, she's not here.
Unfortunately, what are you talking about? That's fortunate.
All right. Okay. Greg, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think Kate really enjoyed being at it. We're talking about Kate, who's been going to TAG meeting, but of course, I'm being glib. I think she should be involved in the conversation about if she goes to the meeting still. But it seems like she's always gotten a lot out of it.
Yeah, and there's no limit on how many board members can go. I went to the last one as well, so Kate and I were both there. So it's kind of nice to absorb.
There is a limit,
some of the
right?
information.
At a certain point, we have to notice.
Oh, is there a
that-
limit? Oh,
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry. Of course, yeah, the obvious quorum limit. Sorry, very specific limit. But below that, having another person doing it, Kate would still be able to. I guess if we chose to change that, I guess. Debbie.
I would just like to say that it isn't only the authority board member who benefits from your presence at our meetings. It's really important to have an authority board member there to keep us in line and aim us in the right direction. And so it was very nice to have you there Councilmember Thomas at the last meeting as well, and Heidi has come to many. So I would say it's really important for all of you to see what your advisory group is trying to do and to help us do it. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on should we be addressing it at this meeting or try to move it to the next meeting? I'm just kind of get a temperature of the room there on that. Only because of Kate's not being here.
Yeah, next meeting, but Debbie's point is taken.
Right. And maybe it's more than one or more of us will at least attend the next one. That would be valuable. Obviously, you know, John and Vivian have experienced lots of those meetings themselves, so they may be tired of them. I don't know, but it was definitely educational for me. So I will try to attend the next one. And
I'll try to rabble rouse a little bit.
Okay, great. Okay, well, should we then formally move this to the next meeting? How should we do that? Table it for now?
Yeah, we can do that, and then we'll just add it to the next agenda.
And is there anybody, maybe I'll just get a straw poll here. If Kate doesn't want to do it next time, is anybody willing or wanting to be in that role?
I'd be willing to do it.
Okay, great. So at least we know there's somebody that's great. Okay, she may be happily pass that off, I would imagine. But okay, we'll do that more officially next time. Now we'll go on to item B, discussion regarding the new website project and website working group. This is an exciting one. And who's leading this?
Kelly will be leading this. She's our project lead on this one.
All right, Kelly.
Everyone. So we had asked the board to approve in our 2024 budget a complete website redesign. Our current website is on an outdated platform and it's not supported with any new updates or features, and it has very limited capabilities. Jefferson Transit's plans for our new website include hiring an agency for the overall design and hosting. Having our website on a new platform gives us technology and features that we need to better reach our writers and provide them with the information that they need. So what we feel we would like in our new website is having it ADA accessible, so anyone with disabilities or impairments can access the information and services that we provide. Clean and informative, so that information that writers need is easy to find. Some of those items are a cleaned up mega menu that you can hover over and see the information, one click to get to information that you need. Hot buttons for the most important items such as writer alerts, trip planner, and maps and schedules. A latest news section so the community can know what Jefferson Transit is up to, including events and meetings. Being mobile friendly is so important for writers. Most of our writers are on the go, so being mobile friendly, they can access the information that's on our website from their smartphone. And not only is it important that the JTA website be user friendly and look good on the front end, but it's also important for the back end to be easy for staff to navigate for updates and for building relevant content for our writers. We have 3 TAG members on a website design working group, and we would like to ask one board member to also join this group. TAG and board members in the working group will be brought in at key times for input throughout the design process. We have posted an RFP in early January, and we've completed demos with 4 agencies. We had the TAG members help score the RFPs, and they attended the demos and scored them as well. So with all that scoring and the discussion, JTA decided to move forward with Civic Plus for our new website design and web hosting. They scored the highest in the demo ranking, and they offer a very robust platform with current technology and website features that we know will be monumental in our process to help increase ridership and awareness about public transportation throughout your website. Civic Plus has many years in experience with government and public transportation websites and we feel that they are exactly what we need. So for our next steps, we're going over the agreement and contract. It is within the general manager signing authority, so we'll have Nicole take care of that. And then the website design team will meet with Civic Plus to discuss design options. They have a 6-phase process that includes design, migration, testing, training, and it's about 16 to 20 weeks to complete. So at the longest end of that, we could tentatively go live in August. But I would like to ask each one of the board members if you could tell me what most important feature that you would like to see on our new website, and if you have any other questions. Vivian?
Great. We already got some hands up. So I actually saw Vivian's hand go up first. So Vivian, what do you got for us?
Well, I would definitely like to be included in this. And I also wonder, you mentioned tag and board members, but do you have any users in the process?
Not for the overall design, but before we go live, we will do a testing and have writers and users look at it to test it before we actually finalize the design and everything.
And then right now what you're doing is just finalizing the contract. The process hasn't actually started yet, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
So, and John, you had your hand up. Did you take it down on purpose?
Yeah, I was going to volunteer, but since Vivian did, I'm happy to have her do it. I had done some work with websites in the past, but maybe it's better to have somebody that's kind of more familiar from the end user point of view.
Okay, Greg, what's the next
user?
All right.
Yeah.
Greg, I saw your hand up next.
Thanks. Really exciting project, Kelly, and I think Civic Plus is a great choice. It's the same company the county uses. I'm actually looking at our design a little bit and some other options. There's a lot of examples you can see all around. I think you're right. Mobile accessibility is absolutely critical. I mean, can I ask for real-time bus locations on the app? That's what I want. I don't know if that's realistic, but I'd be happy to help. I'm happy to defer to Vivian, but if there's opportunities that I can come in, and I'm just kind of curious of going through the process with Civic Plus too. But happy to defer to Vivian to serve on the board, on the committee.
Kelly, do you have any response to either of Vivian or Greg's comments?
So I think I answered Vivian's comment, and for Greg, I think the real-time bus app is something that is a feature item that we are looking into. We wanted to get the infrastructure of the new website created first so that it can handle those other features that are kind of separate software. So more to come in the future on that.
Great. Okay. Debbie, what do you have?
I just wanted to comment on what Vivian said. There are 3 tag members doing the review, and tag members are supposed to be, by definition, writers and users. And actually, our tag member, who is a member of Dash, is included in that group. So we actually have at least 3 people who ride the bus that are included in this process. Thank you.
Great. And David?
I was going to say the one website feature that would be nice is bringing forward information about our authority board meetings. It's in kind of a number of different nested menus, and having some sort of widget or something on the front page, especially when we're actually having a meeting, so people can just click there directly to jump on. I wonder if that would help members of the public be able to participate and find our meeting, given that, I mean, maybe no one would show up anyway, but just want to make sure it's easy for the public to get in here.
Okay, thanks, David.
All right, Vivian.
I had a further comment. I was just reading an article about how trust in city and county government improves with the interaction on websites. So the more possible interaction there is, the more people are supportive and understanding of their civic servants, I guess. So kudos, this is a great thing going in the right direction. And also, I mean, Greg or whoever could, I mean, there could be 2 board members on there.
Yeah, Vivian and David are speaking my language there on the accessibility part of it for inclusion into other layers of the board, especially. Greg, what would you like to add?
Yeah, just going back, as I say, I've been looking at different municipalities' implementation of Civic Plus. San Juan County has like basically a frequently hit page where they have all their, it goes straight to their public meetings. There's a portal. There's a portal that goes straight to all the permits that you might want to pull. So as we, do, a lot of it is in where do people go now on the website? I'm sure that Civic Plus is going to take us through this as well. But, the first step is certainly an analysis of what's working and where people go on the website to make sure that is on that front page and accessible.
Yeah, without imagine overdoing it, and like right now we have like public records requests as a front page button, which might not be, Anyway, John, what do you got?
Yeah, just keeping the menuing as simple as possible and not, nesting too far down the menu options. I think it gets complicated for people when they have to navigate down 3 or 4 different levels. So try to keep it a little flatter with, so it's simpler for people to get to where they need to. And then also agree with Greg, a study of what people are currently frequently going to and making those the most visible on the website.
Red and yellow, of course, are not very accessible colors. If we're really, I don't know if we're digging into color schemes, but they're not high contrast colors. Folks with, color blindness and such are really impacted. But I'm giving Nicole a hard time. At the same time, I'm making a mistake.
Greg, I used to sit on Dash and JCCB, and I would always call that out like, but I will say that, and I'm sure you've seen it, JCCB has this brochure that is bright orange with red lettering, and it's got big lettering and it fades down into smaller lettering, and it says, "Are you living with fading vision?" And I thought, man, that is the most impressive tactic to get people like, they're looking at this, they can't read it, and they're like, wow, am I living with fading vision? It is a great marketing to get awareness for that group. So kudos to them. But yes, red and yellow don't go well together.
Yeah, and I hope an interactive map would be a feature of that.
Yeah, and my input would be whenever that first opening page is be all about the rider, and then that next layer would be the broader reach. I would hope that would be just when you're on the go and you just don't want to fight through information. You want to get like, where is the bus? What time is it coming? That's
Right.
probably pretty obvious, but.
And the borders are clear.
Imagine it's raining, you're late for work. That kind of website I think is important.
Uh-huh.
Good tie-in for Pokemon Go or some AR game too. You can find little Pokemon in the bus. Fire out.
More incentives, yeah. So Kelly, did you get what you needed here? I think you had a little bit more of an ask. Is that right? Or did you want
I
more
think so.
specifics
If
from us?
everybody had a chance to give me a feature that they really want to see, and you guys can always email me later, or if you see a website, you see something on you like, feel free to email me. Vivian, John, and Greg, I'll just reach out to you all separately for details about moving forward and getting your guys' input.
Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for doing that. I think all of us are very excited to see this happening. So that's really cool. All right, we'll move on to item C, Resolution 2401 for the Title VI Plan Update. And who's leading this?
And we are going to hand this one over to Jamie.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this Title VI update, we are number one, we have to update this plan every 3 years. This year, in speaking with our community liaison from WashDOT, we opted to go a little bit different route. Normally, we include a review of our Title VI plan as part of our site visit with WashDOT. And as Miranda and I and anybody else that's been involved in one of these knows, there's a lot of asks, a lot of paper, a lot of digging, a lot of augmenting of policies and plans that go into a site visit. So in an effort to decrease some of the burden during a site visit, we opted to do an abbreviated review of our Title VI plan last year, but since it was expiring next month and we have a board meeting this month, we decided to pull that out of the site visit and just do a standalone update of our Title VI plan. So that is what we have in the packet, is just our updated Title VI plan. We took the checklist that we received from Elizabeth Safston at WashDOT last year during our site visit, made sure that we covered any changes or any deficiencies that our plan had at that point, made some updates to demographics, things like that. In the new plan, there is, I believe, a red line version of that in the board packet for you all to review. And so we are just asking that if we're good with all the changes, that somebody make a motion to accept our new Title VI plan so I can get that submitted and we will be in compliance and eligible to continue receiving grant funds.
Great. Well, before, oh, go ahead.
Nope, I was just going to say I would move to approve. I took some time to review it, and obviously a lot of work in there because there's a lot of red within the document, so a lot of changes.
And let me give Vivian a chance here with your hand up.
Oh, I was just trying to use my hand to make a motion to approve it.
Oh, okay, sorry. So which one of you is going to move there? John, did you make the full motion already?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Vivian, do you want to second that?
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions about this document? I have something I wanted to mention about it. So I see on there that we are working with DASH as a local organization. Have we thought about working with JCERA? Because since we talked about, there's a lot of coverage there about, especially Spanish language speakers. And if you're adding in the people from Forks, you get up to 7% for potential ridership, I think, in the county. Is that, if I'm remembering those numbers correctly? I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up here. That may be, so they differentiate between your race, so being Hispanic or being in a limited English proficiency household. Those are two different,
right, which is very different things. Yeah.
So even though you may be of Hispanic origin, you may speak English and not need a translator. So I to my knowledge, or my breaking down, now WashDOT or the state used to have a really great tool. It was called Alpaca, that actually had a category for all of the Title VI data, and Alpaca is gone now. So I was trying to parse all of this data out of the U.S. Census Bureau website. But from what I gathered, we're still not hitting the threshold that we need to have translated materials. But Nicole, I don't know I don't think we would be opposed to being involved with any, organizations that would do outreach to limited English proficiency. I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, Nicole, are you familiar with JCERA?
I am not.
It's fairly new. It's Jefferson County Immigrant Rights Advocates, and I'm not sure if it's the exact right partner, but I was just thinking if we're working with DASH, would we consider working with another partner that's local on that rather than from the state? And David's got his hand up. He might have some good input on this. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was going to say, and specifically, JCERA operates some English as a second language support groups and so forth here. So it makes sense, I think, what Ben's suggesting. I just wanted to double up on Ben's recommendation.
I think that's something definitely worth our time to look into and see about getting involved with.
And they're
Yeah,
still fairly new and getting their feet under them and figuring out where in the community they can be the most useful. And I thought this seems like an obvious one when you have somebody boarding the bus for the first time without the language capability. They might not even know who to ask or who to talk about. So we might not hear from that person generally. So it'd be interesting to hear from an advocate on their behalf.
Right. They have a not a storefront, like a community space there across from kind of the poorhouse in that little area in the port.
Yes, it was a Guadalajara restaurant. It's changed name so many times, but
Yeah, it's like right next to that.
the old La Fonda space is all I can think of, but that's dating me. Anyway, that can be followed up on later. This brought that up in my mind, and it'd be nice to work with local groups as much as possible. I think because there's always a little different angle than the state might have locally. So,
I
all
like that.
right. So okay. Thank you. So we can call a vote here. It's been moved and seconded. So all in favor of these changes?
I had one other thing to note, minor detail on this.
Sure.
On page 6, under factor number 1, there's just a slight typo, where it should say Spanish-speaking population, not Spanish population. I'm assuming we don't have a large population from Galicia hanging out and Forks, but
You never know.
That's good. Good to make sure. Yeah. We'll include that as what do we call that, a Scrivener's error? Or do we need to make an amendment there?
Yeah, I have a note to update that before we finalize it and publish it. But yes, thank you for noticing that.
Okay, any other comments on this or concerns? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Okay. The ayes have it unanimously. So we will move on to, let me get where are we at here? Okay, so item D, resolution 2402, induct EV charger PO. Who's leading this? Is this Desiree?
Well, Jamie and I can do this jointly. So
Okay.
pop in Jamie
Great.
if you would like to. But this resolution is we're requesting from the board permission for me to sign a purchase order to purchase an induct EV bus charging system. So we talked last year at length about how our original plan was to have inductive charging in our yard at 63 Four Corners. Due to supply chain issues, that project got put on hold. But again, we talked about wanting to start that back up. So we are asking to purchase the inductive chargers. There is a fair amount of lead time once the order has been placed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, but we're looking at probably 8 to 12 weeks before we would take possession of those. So it is important that we place the order as soon as possible. The other thing that we are thinking about is the cost on these inductive chargers have gone up. So this amount is a bit higher than we were anticipating. But it is important because that's how we're going to be able to charge our vehicles in the yard. As you know, right now we have a single plug-in charger, but we do need some inductive charging to add redundancy. So I would ask the board to grant me authority to purchase our inductive EV chargers.
Great. Greg's got his hand up.
Yeah, lots of important questions on this. Like I've asked before, but can I charge my phone on this inductive charger? Can you charge another car on this inductive charger? Does your hair be inside the bus when it's charging? I have so many questions.
I think you can be inside the bus. It might melt your phone if you tried to put it on there. The vehicle, in order to be charged inductively, has to have a charging, like a receptor plate installed on it. That was actually an option that we had to add at the factory when our original bus was built. It's the bus that we have on order currently will be equipped with that as well. So I'm not sure. I don't think you can drive your Tesla on there unless that's an option they offer. But wouldn't that be nice?
I'm excited about the technology.
All right, Rick, you're gonna drive your Tesla on there? Just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh,
Rick,
need
you
to-
there?
You're muted.
I see you still on mute, Rick. Anybody else want to chime in while we're waiting for Rick? Have I lost connection? Can you
No,
hear me?
we can hear you.
Okay.
Are we able to unmute for him, or is that something he has to do?
We can ask
Can
him
you hear
to
me?
unmute.
Oh wait, he's unmuted.
You got it.
Here he is.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. One of them I think was already answered. So the bus that JTA currently has, it is capable of induction charging, correct?
Yes.
So it already has the plate underneath of the bus.
Yes.
Okay. The other question is, these have already been taken care of. The other question is, why is the charger being put up at Four Corners and not at Haynes Place?
Well, we have two phases of this project. So the first is we need a way to charge the buses at Four Corners. And the second is when we work on our Haynes Place redesign project, inductive charging will be a component of that project. So our intent is to have a way for vehicles to charge at Haynes Place. But it doesn't make sense at this point to install inductive charging prior to doing a redesign project of Haynes Place, if that makes sense. So we're rolling that into the redesign. Our goal this year is the second half of the year is to restart our Haynes Place redesign, to go out for bid for an architect so that we can start working on that project. So the goal is multi-phased, but right now we do need that capability here at the yard.
So you're saying it's a two-phase project?
Right. So Haynes Place is a separate project. So right now this is these inductive chargers are just for Four Corners.
Can I add, just piggyback off of what you're saying, Nicole's? The other part of that is that when we had Transpo Group come in a few years ago, and they did a route evaluation, the in-route charging wasn't really a realistic aspect of how we block and cut our work here. We don't have enough layover time built in some of these runs to be able to accommodate that. So I think another aspect of this is when we do our route comprehensive analysis, looking at the type of vehicle that we're trying to transition to, how is Jefferson Transit going to maximize efficiency and also be able to utilize this change in vehicle technology to its best? And that includes, how do we change how we schedule our work or the types of vehicles that we use to accommodate I mean like smaller vehicles, not fueling obviously, but I think that's a big component of it. So it's kind of gonna, I think that's another reason why this is going to be so beneficial, is because we are making this kind of big transition. It's expensive. And I think that we want to make sure that we're putting our resources towards something that's going to be sustainable And that's really going to benefit us in the long run. Yeah, so I think that that's a really good point is asking, you know, what are we looking at for Haynes Place Transit Center? And I think there's so many little components that we're looking at that's going to go into, you know, what type of charging and what type of vehicles we're using down there in our redesign.
Okay, we talked earlier about the comprehensive plan. What happened? I mean, shouldn't a lot of this be on whatever comes out of that data? I mean, it could, once they come to the comprehensive plan, I mean, everything that you have right now could be changed as far as routing and stuff like that. So why would you get a bunch of different vehicles or get any vehicles until you know exactly what kind of routing you're going to be doing? Because you can get the wrong vehicles.
Well, and that's why we're doing the comprehensive analysis, is because we would like that data. So we're being very methodical in our process. So we're not saying that we're going to go buy brand new vehicles that might not fit in with recommendations from that consultant. And we're not going to install inductive charging at a transit center that we plan on tearing up. So there's a method to our madness. We're being slow, we're being methodical, and we're taking it one step at a time. And the first step is we need to get inductive charging at 63 Four Corners.
Also, Rick, I think what you're asking about is the buses that we have on order right now. Why are we moving forward with some of those? We have a need for vehicles right now. We are pushing our maintenance department really hard and stretching that budget really hard, trying to get our existing fleet. You know, extending, and Desiree can talk about it till the end of the day. Her group has been working really hard trying to bring our fleet in working order. We have an aging fleet, and you know, our board passed that the intention for us moving forward is to purchase electric vehicles, and so we needed to purchase vehicles, and that's what we have on order. So I understand what point you're trying to make. But also, in order to keep service on the road, we're going to have to buy some new buses. So I think in realizing that this is the direction that we're going, I think we had the discussion internally about, you know, this is going to a huge change that we're headed into. And if we're going to be transitioning our whole fleet towards a different vehicle type and the style of service that we're going to be providing, I think that's why we wanted to start doing the route analysis.
All right.
This $500,000, is that just for one charger, or is it more?
No, that's for, go ahead, Jamie.
So that is a system that it's a 300 kilowatt cabinet that comes with 4 different pads. So there's configuration options in there. You could do 4 separate spaces and do a slow trickle charge for each space. What we've opted to do, especially if we end up using, say, an electric bus on our Kingston run where there's a gap in the middle of the day where it's not running, is do 2 spaces at 150 kilowatts a piece. So it's going to be not a super fast charger like you would need for an en-route charger, but it's going to be faster than something you would park a bus on to charge it overnight. It's going to be that happy medium. So if we need to get a, quick little juice on the bus, we can park it on there for a couple hours and then take it back out on the road. But that'll give us a total of 3 spots, 3 chargers essentially in our yard. And that's the number of electric buses we're going to end up with in the near future that we're going to be able to order with grant funding to replace aging buses that have hit their useful life benchmark.
Now with questions, but now with all those spots at Four Corners, there's outside fuel tanks there. Is that going to affect those in any way? Because now you have magnetic forces going all around these diesel tanks.
This system has been engineered, and the engineer had our site plans from when this facility was put in. he had been out and walked the property with us numerous times, before his design, during construction, post construction. Yeah, no, there will not be any interference with our fuel tank. They're actually on opposite ends of the yard.
Thanks for your input there, Rick. Good questions. John?
Yeah, I just, the technology is changing so fast here. I know solid state batteries are kind of on the horizon, and that supposedly will charge faster and last longer. And I'm sure you've asked this question, but just wanted to check whether there might be compatibility issues with this moving forward, or whether these induction chargers will likely work for what's to come in the future.
Who wants to answer that?
The composition of the batteries and the chargers being compatible with the actual materials in the batteries themselves. Was that the question? It got a little fuzzy in the middle.
I was just kind of specifically talking about the newer solid state batteries that are, maybe 4 or 5 years on the horizon, but will charge significantly faster and hold a more significant charge. Do you know if these chargers are compatible with solid state batteries, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think we've had the discussion with the salesman about, future battery technology. I'm not sure if that's a good thing to look into, though, because I don't have an answer for that.
I don't either, John.
Yeah, I
But
can
I'm
imagine
writing
that. Okay, I imagine that given the amount of money we're investing in this, it might be something the public would want to know the answer to. Any other comments on this item? And anybody willing to make a motion here?
I'm happy.
move-
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm happy to move that we approve resolution 24-02 for inductive EV charging.
I'll second.
Vivian seconds. Heidi moved. Any other further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed or any opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. Now we have item E, discussion regarding the 2024 tabling events and volunteers.
So we
Yes.
added this agenda item only because the board has in the past expressed interest in helping at tabling events or volunteering with Jefferson Transit. We are working with TAG at this point to come up with some tabling events at the farmers market. We also are at the fair. We are at the Quilstein Fair. So we have lots of different opportunities to be out in the public. And we wanted to make sure that we were extending an invitation to the board if the board wishes to sit with transit staff or with TAG volunteers and help at those tabling events. So we wanted to extend the offer. I don't have a list of tabling events just yet. We're still working with TAG on coming up with some dates. But if anyone's interested, please let Kelly know. And we'd love to shoulder tap you and invite you to some of our events.
Send us a schedule when you have one.
Yeah, would that be possible to send a schedule out to the whole, obviously blind copied to the
Yes.
board? Great. I think that'd be really useful. Sometimes we need to get pointed in the direction, like, here, you move over here, stand there.
Well, I can tell you right now we're going to need help during the fair. The fair coincides with our state conference, so a lot of staff will have to leave during the time of the fair to make it to the Tri-Cities for the conference. So if anyone knows now that they have time available fair weekend, we would love to add you to our roster.
Yeah, I'll be playing double time on that because I'll be on the fair board, but I will be there, so I could sit on the booth. Yeah, sign me up. Anybody else want to chime in with enthusiasm?
I'll be there, but I'll also be running for re-election, so maybe you'll have to dress me up as a bus or something. So I'm incognito.
I'll be there for the Quill Fair.
Excellent. Great. Any other thoughts on this? It was good to hear the energy from TAG getting this stuff going. So on their last meeting, so I'm glad they're including us and wanting us to be part of it. All right, we'll move on to item F, discussion regarding the Poetry in Motion, which is something we've a few of us recently met with Nicole and a couple others there at Jefferson Transit about kind of connecting Port Not just my part will be that I tried to connect the Arts Commission to the Jefferson Transit to see if there was some possible working relationship on the Poet Laureate program that we have going, and would that be useful to the Jefferson Transit? Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, we again met with Connor to talk about possibly a collaboration of including some of the poetry that the city will be, that Connor has identified for the city, and maybe incorporating that into some bus shelters or on board some of our buses. Councilman Thomas and I thought it might be a good idea just to introduce the idea to the board and see if there is any strong feelings regarding a collaboration with the city in doing something like that. So really, this was just a brief topic. We haven't really spent too much time on it yet, but we just wanted to take the temperature of the board.
Yeah, Vivian, do you have a temperature?
Yeah, I'm all for it. Sounds great. And I think the more bus-oriented events there are, the better. I don't even care if the poetry's bad.
I don't know if Greg or Heidi put their hand up first, but let's go with Heidi because it's first one on my screen.
I just was gonna say here, I love the idea. So, and I love the idea of including youth poetry as well. And like, I know that Zinnia Hansen is a poet laureate for us, and people like her we should shine lights on the youth in our community as much as possible. So that was my only.
Great. Greg?
Yeah, I absolutely support it. It's great to connect these two things. My only note, I guess, is that you can't put it in the kiosk or the great title of Poetry in Motion's gone. So I guess I'd vote for it. I like the name, so I'd vote for it being on the buses.
Okay.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's that's just a working title that we're just using because it's kind of easy. But yeah. Let me just give a little bit of background. One thing on what Connor was saying. Like, he's not talking about putting his poetry up. He was just wanting to curate local poetry on the bus so as broad as possible. So with youth, as many youth poets as possible, and some old timers. Kind of stretch the whole boundary. That's what he was pitching to us. Vivian?
Oh, I was just going to add, my cousin actually has poetry as her license plate in Oregon. Wow. She's a professor of literature and a poet herself. Anyway, maybe we can get bus plates that say poetry or something.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you were saying her license plate was a poem, but it's just the word poetry.
Well, the license
7 letters and digits.
They have a very long poem. It just says poetry, and it's in motion on her car.
Oh, nice. Any other commentary here? This is just kind of a topic of discussion. No decisions need to be made. Nicole, do you want anything more from the board to I mean, I think part of the thought was that if anybody had any concerns, right, like why it might not work, or if we don't
Yeah.
offend people, or right.
And I'm not
Anybody
hearing
raising
any,
any-
so I think we can continue our little project and keep working with Connor on some of the things we discussed in the last meeting.
Okay, great. All right, then moving on. Now we have the exciting executive session. I know there's a separate login for this. Somebody help me out in terms of switching to this from the public meeting. Do we have to say anything else?
Ben, did you get the script that I sent over via email?
Oh boy, you did send it to me. Nice. I didn't save it in my notes here though. Shoot. Somebody say something entertaining for a couple moments while I pull that back up. You did send me the script, and I was sorry I don't have it open. And the reason I have my video hidden is not because I'm drinking beer, but it's just because the internet is quite slow.
I have it as well, Ben. I can open it.
Maybe once for old time's sake.
It's like I have it.
But I have it. Let's see. I think I got it. I just forgot. Okay.
Oh no, maybe I don't have it. Yes.
Okay, I have. Yeah, Kelly sent it to both of us.
I do have
okay,
it.
I got it opened.
Okay.
All right, I think I could do it. I just have the beginning of the. I just have the inside executive session, so I don't. Is there anything to say in transitioning away from this meeting? Because we're gonna come back, right? Isn't that how it normally works?
Ben, do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So the Jefferson Transit Authority Board will now go into an executive session for discussion regarding personnel as allowed by RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1 parentheses G for review the performance of a public employee. The board will be in executive session until how much time do we think we need? 5:10. The board is not will be in executive session for until 5:10. The board is not expected to take any further action following the executive session. So now we exit this Zoom room and go to the other Zoom room that was sent to us by Kelly.
The other one is the Teams meeting,
Great.
and I will join as well to make sure everyone can attend, and then I will be leading.
And then we come back
Okay,
to
it's
the
probably-
Zoom room, you guys.
But it's important to either mute this one or
We're gonna
check
pause.
X
the-
out of it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna pause the
Okay.
recording on this one, but you guys need to exit completely out of it.
Okay, we'll see you all on the other side. Most of you.
And then also caption. Just pause.
Recording stopped.
One more second. Okay.
I need to find the script. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm not.
I think you can just officially say you're extending it and then
Yeah.
let us know the time again.
So we are extending this executive session of the Jefferson Transit Authority Board for 15 minutes from 5:11 to 5:26. We'll be back at 5:26.
Recording stopped.
Jefferson Transit Authority Board for 15 minutes from 5:11 to 5:26. We'll be back at 5:26.
Please pause.
Recording stopped.
Are we all back here?
Yep.
John is not yet.
Oh,
Okay. Can I just call this back into session even if he's late getting here?
yeah, we have
We
a
do
quorum.
Okay.
Okay, I call the regular meeting back to order. The board will not take further action. So I think we are good to go, right? On to the next step here. Sorry, switching the screens. Okay, so now we're on to reports. So a general manager's report. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I know that you have meetings to get to. We'll keep it very, very brief. Just want to let the board know that on our facilities maintenance project, our permits have been filed. We're feeling really optimistic with conversations with the county. So we're hoping to have those permits completed or back to us, hopefully by the next board meeting. Our third maintenance bay project, we had a bid opening this afternoon. I don't have more information just yet, but we're excited to be able to identify a project manager for that third maintenance bay project. Climate action plan is moving right along. We had our kickoff meeting in January. Peak Sustainability will be attending our April board meeting to provide an update on that project. But really excited about the initial work that group is doing. So I will go ahead and turn it over to, who am I turning it over to? Amy.
Amy. Hi, everybody. And we'll keep this brief. Jefferson Transit has a new transit operator class of 4. We are so excited about this group. They come with a lot of different life and work experiences, and I think they're going to be a good fit. They're scheduled to test for their CDLs, 2 of them on Monday, 2 on Friday, and that will put us fully staffed. So we are crossing our fingers for that. Yesterday, Jefferson Transit had their all-staff training day, which included our JTalk staff from the West End. We did bicycle and pedestrian safety, and we had presenters David Steele from Transportation Lab, Scott Walker from the Transportation Lab, and TAG. They presented, which was wonderful. And we also have Washington State Insurance Pool staff here that observed, Joanne, Laura, and Todd Iddings. They're all managers with WISTIP. It was nice having them here. Operators were also trained on the battery electric bus, and they presented or participated in a presentation by Tony Cloud, who is an international speaker and mental health trainer. He spoke on aggression versus violence and de-escalating intense interactions. JTalk, so we had Kelly and Lisa Bradley, customer service. They visited Forks. They put up QR codes on our shelters, talked with our staff over there. We're trying to increase, getting over there and getting the word out about Jefferson Transit service, which will be easier when we are fully staffed and drivers over here, so I can get away from training. Gary Maxfield attended a modernization of the commercial driver's license requirements class in January. So this is the first class that we will have with that abbreviated version of the CDL testing. Ridership. So still not quite to 2019 averages. December of 2019 to 23-24, we were down ridership 14%. January down 3% from 2019 to 2024. JTalk is still struggling. Like I said, we mentioned we're going to be getting out there more now that we're going to be hopefully fully staffed. Kingston went up. December 22-23 averages compared to 23-24 averages were up 72%. And January was an increase up to 97%. And that could be attributed to that's when we went fare free. So that is my abbreviated report. So
thank you, Amy. Mobility operations report. Is that Sarah?
That's me. All right. So we are recruiting for a third dispatcher right now. We're happy to announce that we're going to be switching over our rider alert system. So we're going to be using Simplified Transit is our new software, and it's going to bring some nice improvements, we feel. So there'll be personalized alerts when you go to sign up. You can choose the route, days and times you'd like to receive notices. There's also going to be improved readability, and then also it's linked to our GTFS feed. So it will be great for travel planning and real-time updates. And it's actually going to roll out in the beginning of March 1st. We've been doing sort of a soft launch, kind of phasing into it, and we will send everybody the information directly so you can sign up when we're ready. For community outreach, we had our annual Toys for Tots Stuff the Bus event in December, on December 2nd. A staff member went to Habitat for Humanity to attend the Mason Street project meeting. Also, we've been working with the Port Townsend School District for a Sales Coast Literacy Night in March. We're really excited to join them, be a part of that. And also attending the School to Work transition meetings. And for ridership, we are seeing an 8% decrease from November to December. Or I'm sorry, from January to December, largely due to inclement weather. But the yearly comparisons are up compared to 2019. Daily ridership in December was up 32%, and January was up 15%. And with that, I will pass it on to Desiree.
Hello, everybody. I just want to let you know that our new cutaway for the Olympic Connection is scheduled to be delivered tomorrow. This was kind of delayed at the factory with some of the build components not coming in. So finally, we're going to be getting our new bus for out there. And then just on to training and staff updates. During our all-staff training yesterday, our maintenance staff received forklift and man lift training. So they're all trained on operating that equipment. And then in, let's see, on February 12th, Jefferson Transit hired an additional maintenance cleaner. This is going to help with the demand of keeping the buses, shelters, and facilities cleaned and in good, well-maintained condition. March 19th and 20th, myself and I'll be attending, the supervisor school training class part 1 and 2 in Olympia, Washington. Looking forward to that. And March 26th and 28th, myself and mechanic Michael Norman will be attending the WISTA Maintenance and Facilities Committee meeting and forum in Kennewick, Washington. And that is all the updates I have.
Sorry, I was unmuted there. Tag update, Debbie. What do you got for us?
You have a report in your packet. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to take them. The only thing I would point out is what we have coming up is some problems with attendance to the meetings, so that because we have our minimum number according to our bylaws, and we've had some people not show up at meetings, which is a real problem for quorum. We talked about having punishment for missing a meeting, having to lead the next 2 meetings, but we're hoping that won't be necessary. But we do want to address our bylaws to describe a little more clearly what the requirements are for attendance. And that's really all I have to report to you. The rest of everything that happened in our meeting is in the packet under our report and in the minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
I have one, and maybe it's also to Nicole, but you know, since TAG was requesting of the board to give them some more clear, at least feedback from the board's intentions of how to deal with absences, how can we, when should we stick that in here, or how can we address that?
I think I would like to continue the conversation with TAG, and if they are requesting to change their bylaws to bring something forward to the board to consider, that would be my recommendation, is that at the next TAG meeting that TAG does that work And then we could bring something to the April board meeting.
Okay. My concern is that we would end up in a place where we're accidentally knocking tag members off, due to their busy lives and then not replacing the people as quickly as they go away. So, okay. Great.
That's my concern too, Ben. So, thank you.
Yeah, punishment is not too effective.
If they have to leave meetings, it might be.
Well,
well, the people that are not going to be impressed by having the punishment be the crime.
Yeah, right. Do we have any more public comment that's shown up during this meeting, or anybody who's got their hands raised?
We do have somebody with their hand raised. Hold on, I'll allow them to
Oh, wait,
talk.
no, I see it. There it is. Great. Phone number.
Hi, this is Becky Kimball. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Becky. Yes.
Hey, so yay, new website. I just had to say that. But I have to give a shout out to Nicole for working with AAUW to help them reduce their carbon footprint during their annual kitchen tour, their fundraiser, because she's going to add a bus to help people get to the various sites. So I just wanted to give her an attaboy.
Atta girl.
Oh,
So, Amy,
that's true. A little misogyny there.
Amy and I aren't actually adding a bus, but we are going to help publicize and add some temporary stops to make it more convenient for people to exit the bus and access the homes in Uptown. We're really excited about that collaboration. So I think hopefully we're going to build a strong relationship so that moving forward we can continue to help them in their mission, which is such an amazing mission.
Right, and AAUW members, sometimes have influence here and there. So this will all be really great. Anyway, that's it. Carry on.
Great. Thanks, Becky. Well, I think we've come to it. If there's any other public comment, I don't see it. Great. Well, then thank you. I want to thank everybody for being patient with me and my limited bandwidth from very far away. And especially to Heidi for taking over during the executive session there because my mic was not working. Okay, well, I think we have come to the end of our meeting, and I will adjourn this meeting and see you all in 2 months, and hopefully all of you separately before then. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Wow.